This is like Trivial Pursuit night at Scott Cawthon's place. Happy birthday, Mr. Birth. Happy belated birthdays in the past. Happy future birthdays in the future. My name is Lime Green, and welcome to the Out of Time podcast, the podcast where you request for me to play games for the first time ever. And in this case, it's Five Nights at Freddy's 4, specifically the first, not the first, nights 3 and 4. We're going to be talking about nights 3 and 4. And again, if you've watched the first episode, I said, oh boy, this game is super duper hard. And I actually put it down, and we're just going to be talking about the lore, more of the lore side of this, because I said, man, this game's hard. I'm going to be more so talking about lore implications, because I find that super interesting. Also, this game screams at you, and you need to really, I guess, lean in close for the sound cues and stuff. Also, we're going to be talking about the book of, where is it? The Silver Eyes graphic novel, specifically. 2 pages of that. And then at the end, we're going to be talking about another new game. not FNAF related, but a game that I also recently beat, if you want to stay for that. So we have a lot on our plate today. And in case you're wondering what's going on with the thumbnail, when FNAF 4 was initially coming out, Scott released a bunch of teasers with the animatronics on his website, and to get people hyped up. And it was in very I guess dark lighting. See, that I know, because let me take you back to the early days of GT Live, and Matt Pat would be playing like Life is Strange or something, and people would be flooding the comments. They would be like, check out the Scott Games website, and he would Matt Pat would go to the website, and it would just be like a single image. I'd be like, cool guys, cool, you guys are telling him to check the image or check the website for a single image. That's really adding to the FNAF lore. I'm saying this like 10 years later, but come on. Each image would be like, was it me, or was it me, or me? And the only way you would see it is if you want view and brighten up the image. So this is of Foxy, and I brightened up the image like 1,000,000%. And another thing I know with FNAF 4 is in this teaser specifically, Foxy has a long tongue for some reason, and in the main game, Foxy does not have a tongue. And I believe in the Doco interview, look at how educated I am in FNAF lore, Scott said he didn't give Foxy a tongue because he didn't think it would be that scary. I don't know. I think I'm in the majority here for the first time ever in saying the tongue should have been in the game. Maybe the tongue comes back in a later game, but tongue looks pretty scary. Okay, now that we've been sidetracked by talking about Foxy's tongue of all things, Night 3 begins, or the minigame rather, with 2 days left until the party, which makes me think, alright, this crying child, he's been at this party place for who knows how long, celebrating parties. Maybe his parents work here, I don't know, or his brother. He's crying. The text says he hates you. You have to get up. You can get out this time, but you have to hurry. It seemingly picks up like right after the last night. Did he spend a whole night there crying. Uh, that's pretty worrisome. That's crazy. Yeah, no one looked at, under the table and saw the kid was crying. A kid says, "Where's your plush toy?" Mine is Spring Body. That's not very marketable, but uh, why is there a toy called Spring Body? But I guess that's FNAF. My daddy says I have to be careful with him or else I will pinch my finger. Alluding to the spring trap suit. He's a finger trap. What's it called? Is it just a spring lock suit? I guess that's the term. And again, the little bear is watching everywhere you go, a la FNAF Undertale, Sans Undertale. And then there's another point I want to make note to. There's a girl who says, "You'd better watch out. I hear they come to life at night." And the little bear is in the flower garden. And if you die, they hide your body and they never tell anyone. So, is she talking about the flowers? Is is the animatronics like a fungus, right? Or like a pollen? I'm not sure. You can assume she's talking about the animatronics easily, but she's talking next to the flowers, and the bear is next to the flowers. That's just a wild theory. You can extrapolate from this. Besides that, there's not too much to theorize on. The kids walking home, everyone's like, "Hey, stop being such a crybaby. Why you gotta be scared? Nobody's scared here." People are like, "Are you gonna go to the party? Everyone's going to the party." "Oh wait, you have to go. It's your birthday." And then that brings it into question again. Like, why is the crying child, parentheses, is this a crying child? Like, why is this child going to parties before, the day of his party? Does he, why does he hang out at the pizzeria before his birthday if he doesn't want to be there? That's the thing I can't wrap my mind about. Or maybe it's like night. See, I know that's like a big thing in FNAF 4, and people don't want to admit it, but it's a contested theory that nightmares, dream theory, but it's kind of a likely thing. Otherwise, like, why would he go there willingly? I don't know. Also, there's a parked car here, and I'm not sure if it's parked or like someone's sitting in there. There's tinted windows. It's kind of weird. There's like a little yellow spot. Is that something in the wheels? It's kind of weird. One more thing I want to touch on that's like kind of kooky. It might just be me. Your neighbor friend Freddy Bear says to be careful when you enter the house, and then your sister has this mangle toy, the take apart mangle, but it's pink. Now that really sent me down a rabbit hole, and this is FNAF 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but mangle is always like more white than pink, and that is more reminiscent, I think, than to Funtime Foxy that we do not see until a future game in sister location. Now, I haven't gotten to the sister location yet, but is that really Mangold? I don't know. Or is sister location taking place before FNAF 4? I don't know. Or was Mangle... Like, all this is because, like, an Atari style minigame looks like pink to me. I could be not looking at it right. But let me know in the comments, like, do you guys see it as white or pink? And do you think sister location it takes place before FNAF 4? Because I could be totally off base with this. I don't know. So you know what happens. The brother comes out, scares the crying child. The crying child cries. Tomorrow is another day. One day left till the big party, the big birthday bash. The next minigame we pick up, the crying child is somehow in the parts closet, I guess. I'm guessing the brother locked him in there. And he's crying again. And there's a bunch of parts in there. Heads and hands and whatnot. And he's crying, let me out. Please let me out. You can't control him. And then eventually, it's like the shortest... Would you even call it a minigame? I don't know. He just lies over and that's it. What does this tell us about, like, FNAF? I guess the greater FNAF-averse. I guess it gives us a peek into the parts room. Gives us a peek at the behind the scenes that there is a parts closet to begin with. Kind of dampens, my fungus plant theory. That would have been interesting. I'm just saying, Scott. Still could happen. All I'm saying is there could be animatronics and there could be, this weird stuff going on at the same time. Not to say animatronics are weird. What else? Why? I guess just to deepen the wacky... Not hate, but wacky tension between him and his brother, or his parents, or whoever put him in the parts closet, or maybe he locked himself in there accidentally. I don't know. I'm not really sure why that's there. Do you know why it's there? Let me know in the comments down below. I can't use that as a cop-out for everything. In the realm of the actual nights themselves, I thought it was kind of funny looking at the FNAF wiki. I thought it was kind of funny looking at the strategy section because I wanted to see what was different from, night 3 or night 2 going to night 3, then to night 4. The strategy section just lists the strategy of just close the door. If there's a big scary guy at your door, just close it, man. Just close that door. What's he gotta do? Just close that. Just close that door. What Why didn't I think of that, man? Moving on to the Silver Eyes graphic novel, chapter 3. If you're reading along, it starts with Charlie waking up. You know, chapter 2 ended on a cliffhanger. We weren't sure if it was a dream or not. You know, kind of alluding to the fact that this all might be a dream theory type deal. Charlie wakes up and she then meets her friends Marla and Jason. And I have to say, you know, again, the art in this is very good. You know, I'm not knocking that, but they could have done Marla a little differently than Jessica. Let me double check and make sure I'm saying this right. Jessica, I'm pretty sure. Go back. Where they all introduce themselves. Jessica, yep. Because Jessica and Marla look pretty much the same. And it's freaky how little they look different. Maybe they're supposed to be like sisters or related in some way, because I thought they were the same person. The only way they were not, I guess, the same person is Jessica has like huge earrings and I guess a different nose. I don't know, it's like a weird, they were even wearing like the same like pink outfit. I don't know. What's going on? Another little nitpick I have is they all go to the diner again, which is like, all right, you guys love diners. Now, also like Game Boys or something akin to a Game Boy exists in the FNAF universe, the FNAF-averse, which is like, all right. Now there's like 7 people. That's a huge cast. A lot of people to like follow. I was already trying to follow the cast we had before. They're juggling a whole lot right now. They talk about their friend who they all met up for / with, not with, but they were like, oh man, this is the anniversary of his passing. It's kind of like Until Dawn in a way, if you've seen the movie / played the game. And they're like, we just went and saw Freddy's. They're like, Freddy's? You want to go check it out with us? And they're like, yeah, we do. And they all sneak back into Freddy's. And again, it's kind of like the movie. And out of nowhere, what's his face? It's like, boy, oh boy. I'm gonna reveal a secret I haven't told like anyone. How Michael was like taken by Golden Freddy, and I'm kind of unsure how I feel about that. Like earlier, Charlie was like, "Hey, Freddy's golden, right? Or yellow?" And everyone else is like, "Nah, he ain't yellow. He's brown." He didn't want to speak up about that then. Maybe it's just like a hindsight thing, because Charlie, she's not putting 2 and 2 together. Said she's trying to race him to Freddy. Anyways, chapter 4. They they break into Freddy's again. They bring more flashlights. They're more prepared, and they break into Freddy's again, and after so many times of breaking in, eventually they're become disinterested. You would think, maybe after like the seventh or eighth time, they find like this pedestal-looking thing underneath where the animatronics are standing, and they open it up, and it's like got all these buttons and stuff, and somehow like a bunch of them squeeze in. It doesn't look all that big, but somehow like 3 of them or more get in there. And I'm trying to envision like how that would have worked when like the place was operating. Like they just had really small people in there, and they say, hold on, I'm gonna get the exact quote, because they hit the buttons and they say, but it looks stiff, unnatural, not like how they used to dance back then. So, each button is, each button is for a single movement. So they had people underneath the animatronics controlling them, hitting buttons individually to control each of the animatronics. Oh, see, here is a better picture. It's more of like a sound stage. And here, in this picture, just looks like a little pedestal thing. I can believe it if it's a stage. But if it's just like a little pedestal, that was kind of wonky. Charlie says, oh man, it's too stuffy. I can believe you, Charlie. And all of a sudden they begin playing hide and seek in here. It's like, okay, Charlie. I was rooting for you. You seem like a good protagonist, but you start playing hide and seek in a pizzeria that's been abandoned for years and years and years. Save your blushing for other places. There's 4 people underneath the animatronics now. They're all pushing buttons. They're looking for Charlie, and Charlie finds Foxy and scrapes up her hand. And you can actually see, if you got, what's it called, the graphic novel, I almost said visual novel, and you can see the blood. Not a lot of blood. I'm not even sure how she would have scraped her hand. Maybe with the hook. I don't know if she fell. But she says, no, not her. Someone must have hit a button that caused it to move somehow. I'm not sure why. Because each of them down below the sound stage will have been hitting buttons. Yeah, they have monitors down there, so they will have seen Charlie on the monitor. So what's his name? Hold on, we're doing a deep dive investigation. What's his name? Hold on. Again, there's a lot of characters. Getting page-turning ASMR. I actually don't know. Who are you? Lamar? Okay, Lamar. If Lamar sees Charlie on the screen, why would he push the button? And if he didn't see Charlie on the screen, why would he just be pushing random? Did he get caught up in the moment? That's my theory. And then the chapter ends with everyone going back to to the motel and them crashing at the motel, I guess. Again, it ends with like everyone at the motel at the crazy picture. Does the motel offer that many people to stay in one room? That's my theory for today. Note to self: don't drink the tap water at John FNAF's. Alright, did you get that hint? The other game we're going to be talking about is Gex. Specifically, part of the Gex trilogy that just came out. I ordered the physical copy, and kind of like Gex himself, the mysterious type of fellow he is, it just kind of appeared on my front porch, like typically with physical games, or the special physical games, like Gex, well, he's a special fellow. They give you like little updates and tracking and whatnot, but it just appeared on my front porch, and I was like, all right, I guess it's done shipping and whatever, they're done processing. So I had to play it. I had to see what Gex was all about. I think I remember seeing Gex 2 in a magazine long ago, like a PlayStation magazine or something. But that was long ago. If you don't know, Gex's whole thing, it's kind of like Deadpool before Deadpool. He goes around and he quotes movies and things. That's his gist. He's a lizard, and I'll have to say, they kind of really made it grandiose with the Gex trilogy. Let me pick it up here and look at it. Gex trilogy type of deal, where instead of watching TV, he's watching kind of like a Netflix equivalent, and you can switch between the 3 games. Now when I say grandiose, I can hear you guys say it's just a couple of menus lying brain. You're kind of overhyping this a bit. Now I get your point, but it's the finer details. It's the little things that keep me going. They include little extras in this, and little interviews with the Gex voice actor. He's like a comedian, and you can tell he doesn't play video games. He says in the interviews, and you can tell he doesn't really get why Gex is popular, because he says like, oh man, Gex's jokes are all written by me, and Gex's humor is like all my humor. So I like watch all the interviews and like all the behind the scenes stuff, and then I jumped into the game and I'm like, all right, I'm I'm expecting like the funniest banter you could ever expect, like Deadpool level humor in a Gex type game, and I'm just staring at him on the back of this game, and he's staring back at me. He knows, and well, the story is Gex gets sucked into a TV and with his remote, and like this big I don't even know what it is. It's like an alien type of deal. Like takes his remote and he's gotta like navigate media dimension. that's like what it's called, like the media dimension or something very close to that. So he's gotta navigate worlds that are like TV worlds, and he Gex just kind of says stuff. That's the best way to say it. Gex says stuff, kind of out of pocket stuff, and kind of like just movie quotes. Like you go to like a Looney Tunes world, and he'll just be like, "Oh, Wilma," or he'll be like running on like a what's it called, like a escalator or like a conveyor belt. That's the word. And he'll be like, "Jane, get me off this crazy thing," and then he'll be like, "School, we gotta get back to the mystery van," and yeah, he just makes. I think if we, again, like the voice actor said in this, if you got the Gex trilogy, he was kind of pushing for another game. If they were to make another Gex game, I would not really want them to like make modern references. I think Gex would do well making like maybe up, because I don't think I would ever want to hear Gex reference like Fortnite or like streamers. I think that's a Deadpool thing. I feel like Gex does well strictly TV. And like celebrities and stuff, he does that too. I'm trying to think what else to say on that note. I'll talk about the game itself, which you play the game and you're mostly playing to just hear what Gex says. That's what I was doing, at least. Again, I forgot to mention this. Gex was like the mascot of the 3DO, I believe. A rarely talked about console. Another reason why to get Gex trilogy, just to hear about the 3DO. Would you or would I get Gex? Or would I get the 3DO just to play Gex 1? That's debatable, but Gex? Well, first off, how do I like really simplify this? The home world of Gex, or hub world, is like really small. It's really hard to see. It's a platformer, so you gotta get to the one side of the screen to the other, and it's really well designed, except for the fact you need to get remotes to get to the next level, or to even access the next level. I'm kind of mixed about that. It makes Gex stand out on, like, out against Sonic, against Mario, against, I guess, like, any platformer I've even heard about or played. And the remotes, they're in fairly, easy spots to see and whatever. I only missed, like, 2. But the ones I did miss, they were a real hassle to get. And this game, in the Gex trilogy, it comes with a rewind function. I'll say the one level, I have no idea how you even got through without the rewind. Another big reason why I would not get a 3DO just to play Gex is, and this is mostly on me, Gex is a game in which you have to double tap to run. I am no good double tapping, especially like fighting games and stuff. So I just walked the whole game. So that's mostly on me, I think. There's like 2 spots in the entire game it requires you to run, I found out. And I somehow avoided that by damage boosting through it. There's this one part in the level that I really hated, that I talked about before, in which I bounced on a spike instead of running over and jumping over it. But Gex has a DuckTales cane hop, but it's not really like a DuckTales cane hop. You wish it was, but it's not. Craziest part of Gex 1 didn't come from like the gameplay or the story. It came from just watching Gex like walk around on all fours. It, kind of similar to what the Pokemon community does. I'm playing as like a gecko. That, the coolness factor kind of shot way down. And I don't think Gex really has the sunglasses in Gex 1, question mark? I don't think so. So, I don't know, it just kind of felt like I was playing a normal gecko. Or like, you know what it felt like? It felt like I was playing like the Magic School Bus, Lizzie from the Magic School Bus. Now, with all that in mind, would I recommend Gex 1 for the Gex trilogy, or Gex for the 3DO in your closet that I know you have? Now, if you're a fan of like referential humor, like I am, big Ready Player One fan I am, I'd say at least play the first world, to see what you're getting in for, or like look up a Let's Play or something. I don't know. The first world pretty much sets the tone for the whole game. Would I be playing Gex 2 and Gex 3? Eventually, I'm pretty Gexed out at the moment, but I'm really interested in like the 3D aspects. Like, I couldn't just jump into Gex 2 without, Gex 1. I'm one of those people. I gotta start with Dragon Quest 1 before getting to Dragon Quest 3. I can't be playing Final Fantasy 14 without playing Final Fantasy 1. But, Gex 3 looks really good, if you know what I'm saying. But what do I think of Gex 1? What's my final verdict? It's not too bad. I guess it's good for the time that it came out. You could say it's pretty slept on. Best game for the 3DO, probably. I know. I don't know many other games for the 3DO. What else is there to say? Again, if Gex had more talking points, or talked about the level he was in, better, then this would be a classic, I would think. A classic game. Instead of kind of talking about the game. You have to stretch to make the joke, But I get, you know, this is like a... What am I trying to say? I get this is like a of the time type deal. You know, it was probably kind of hard to make like, oh, we did 14,000 voice lines, and Gex is referencing, you know, if you pick up the item, if you pick up the item in the cemetery, if you pick up the item in the cemetery while you're wearing the funny hat, if you pick up the item in the cemetery and you have 2 health points, if you pick up the item in the cemetery and you have 3 health points, you know, that's something you do, you know, nowadays. And we have like 15 teraflops of storage. They probably had like 1 teraflop storage, I don't know. But that was Gex and Five Nights at Freddy's.